Milo, is that you?
There, I think I got it. Hey, Scott.
Yes.
Scott.
Hello.
Scott.
I'm here.
Is this the first podcast since the last podcast?
I believe it is.
Okay, wow, you didn't even have to do any calculations or nothing.
And I'm not even good at math.
Yeah, I know. A lot of the guys, like Bruce the mailboy who keeps track of it, and Tom Jacobs and Kaylee, they always got to do some ciphering, but you just seem to have it right there on your fingertips.
I don't think I can compete with Bruce and Kaylee.
No. Can you compete with Tom Jacobs?
I don't know about Tom.
Well, you know what? We don't know about Tom either.
Queso Cowboy.
Yeah, the Queso Cowboy. Exactly. Yeah, there's lots we don't know about Tom. So anyways, Scott, are you up for this? You're the co-host tonight.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
It's a lot of responsibility.
I know, but somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, you got to make all the you got to keep the coffee hot. You got to make sure the donuts don't run out. You got to ask intelligent. You got to be able to speak clearly.
Well, 2 out of 3. I got 2 out of 3. That's good enough, isn't it?
Yeah. So tonight, remember, I don't know if this was before or after, but the other day, not long ago, you and I, or actually Ron Marsh and I talked to you about the water on your river. What's the river called on the layout?
The Rock River.
The Rock River, because you model the Iowa Interstate Railroad.
Yes. Which
was created in what year?
Oh, gosh. I'm not even sure. I think it was in the either late 80s or early 90s. I'm not sure of the year.
1984.
Okay.
You might want to do some bonus.
I got to go to the Godfather, Joe Atkinson, and
yeah,
pick his brain.
And we got to get Joe Atkinson on here.
Oh, Joe's a great guy. He'd be a great interview.
And Jason's stepdad,
Clark. Yep.
Clark. How do you say it? Propst.
Propst. Yep.
Okay. And we got to get him on. We got so many people to get on. But tonight we're going to talk to our regular buddy. We're going to talk to Ron Marsh of Ron's Trains and Things. Do you have any idea what the things are?
I don't. That'd be a great topic to discuss.
Yeah.
What are the things?
What are the things?
That's the first question we should ask.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's write that one down. Now, let me just jot that one down now. What are the things? So anyways, we're going to, because he's expanding his layout. He is a a model railroad YouTube sensation. And he's also the Model Railroad Academy's golden boy. He's always on doing videos and stuff for them. And, I mean, he's all over the place, and he's on this podcast lots, like Ron Marsh. If you don't know who Ron Marsh is, you no point in getting out of bed.
Plus, Ron's a pastor, so he cares for people and can relate to people. That's important.
That's a very good point. He can relate to people. That's why his videos are so good.
Mm-hmm. But he has a special story for us today. Something that just happened today. I'm not going to give it away, but
you want him to tell that story too? I'm not sure he'll want it.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure he's going to want to share that over the airwaves of the AML network. But we can.
Our audience is a select audience. They'll love it.
Yeah. You know the crazy part. Ron's been sitting right beside you the whole time and hasn't said a word.
Oh, hey, Ron.
Hey, Scott, how are you?
He's like stealth, too. He's a stealth bastard.
Yeah, he's not svelte. That's what he's not, definitely not
svelte. That's definitely true. I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
That's true. He's everywhere.
Ron's been pounding down the pralines and cream a bit too much lately.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, the cookie dough. He's been making one too many trips to the Dairy Queen for a blizzard.
The funny thing is, in years gone by, not that long ago, I was a pretty regular runner, And I still was built like I am. So it's,
I know.
no
I saw a guy last night running in our neighborhood, and he was a big guy, and I'm thinking, man, I don't know how you move that mass like that. So you were a regular runner as opposed to an irregular runner?
Right. Well, I ran regularly.
I find that hard to believe.
Not to be confused with normally. Just regularly.
What's the farthest you ever ran?
Farthest I ever ran would have been way back in high school, probably. I used to run with the cross country team, and we made a point to do a half marathon once a year when I was in high school. So I've ran a half marathon a couple of times, but that's been 35 years ago.
Wow.
More recently, a long run for me, about once a year when I was running regularly, I would run a 10K, which is 6.2 miles. But I ran 3 to 4 miles on a daily basis. But I haven't done anything in about the last 3 years because I undertook something that took all my time.
Right. We'll find out about that. And I believe this is being published or broadcast on Monday, August the 31st. And which would mean that I've just hopefully completed the fourth year of where I walked from the hospital in Toronto to my home, which is 60 miles or 100 kilometers. And you know what I said, when I got about a half a mile from the hospital?
What?
Yeah. What the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
Well, we raised a bunch of money for the psychosocial oncology clinic at Princess Margaret Hospital. So there you go.
How long does it typically take for your blisters to heal after that walk? That's
actually, as the years have gone by, the first year was brutal because I had leather Reebok sneakers, and I thought that I thought they'd be fine because and my secretary Barb said, "You're not using those," and I'm like, "Yeah, like I walk around here all the time, right?" I had no idea what walking 60 miles entailed, so then the first day I got maybe halfway, so I got maybe 6 miles, about 6 to 8 miles, and the blister started.
Oh no!
Yeah, and I walked. By the time I was done, I had like 8 blisters.
Oh my goodness!
It was.
What do you wear now for shoes?
And that year we chewed through about 4 or 5 different iterations of shoes. Sandals was one of the things. And then, so then I have these New Balance. Now I'm up to New Balance, really nice New Balance shoes, like proper jogging shoes that work really, really well. But on the second year, halfway through the second year, I discovered something it's primarily used for, it's a dressing that you buy in a package. It's like 3 inches by 2 inches or 4 inches by 2 inches. And it's primarily used for burns. You put it on burns, and it's like this clear stuff that's like thinner than cellophane, and it's self-adhesive. And last year I put that on, and the second year I put it on, and it started to heal the blisters that had started to form. And last year I basically made it almost the whole way without any blisters. Yeah,
wow.
My feet
Fantastic.
hurt. My feet hurt, but
yeah.
Other than that,
you're toughening up.
I think that's what it is. I'm toughening up. Yeah, that's what I am. I'm toughening up.
Well, at least you have tough feet.
Yeah, I have tough feet. So
this year will be is this the 4th annual?
I actually started raising money at the end of my first year, which was day 365. So that very first year we raised $1,200. Then the next year Tim Warris got involved and we raised like $8,000. But the year after that, which was the third year, but the first year of walking. So I've actually been raising money for 6 years and walking for 4 of those 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
Awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, because the doctor said to me, "How do you feel?" And I said, "I feel like I could walk from here to my house." And then I went, "Hey, I could do that for raising money." And then that first year, I'm thinking, what am I doing? It's 100 kilometers. So this is being recorded at the end of July. And it took me 24 days to walk 100 kilometers just walking around the neighborhood in July. And I'm thinking, well, then how do I do that in 5 days? Because I feel like I'm poofed all the time. So it's all very strange.
So how do you do that? Do you walk a certain distance and then drive back home and then go back to the same spot the next day, or how does that work?
That's slowly is how I do it. But that's speed is not one of my fortes. But yeah, that's what I do. I walk the first day. I walk about 15 miles, and then somebody picks me up, and I go home and I sleep in my own bed. Then I drive back to that. So it gets shorter and shorter the distance somebody has to drive and pick me up, drop me off and pick me up. So yeah, that's exactly what I do. So that seems, because that way I get to come home and stick my feet in a bucket of stuff and relax in my own home and have my sleep in my own bed. And then I go back and I pick up right at the same spot, and away I go. And it's like when I played golf by myself. I'm very adamant about I have to start in exactly the same spot or a couple of feet behind it, because it's important to me. Because if I've discovered anything through this walk, it's like, it's really, really hard. It's really, really hard. But it's like having stage 4 cancer is like 50 times harder. So it's actually, it's very rewarding to help people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
But that's not why we're here. We were discussing Ron. See, I'm still stuck with an image of Ron jogging.
Yeah,
that's moving a large mass across the land.
Ron, you're not a large guy, are you?
I guess that depends on how you measure largeness, but my doctor would tell you that I am. So,
but you're like what, 6'2", 6'3"?
I'm 6'2",
yeah,
and about 250.
Tipping the scales at about 3 1/4.
250.
Yeah, that's a good lineman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I wish it was 250 of muscle mass.
Yeah,
like a lineman.
Yeah.
Well, we can always pretend.
That's right.
We can.
Yeah.
We all get older. Turns muscle to something else.
Well, speak for yourself there. I was gonna have. Oh yeah, was that important when you started working for Model Railroad Academy? Was your physique at all brought up in discussions when you guys were negotiating your contract?
Never.
No. They didn't. You said that's
obviously have fairly low standards.
Yeah. You said that's basically all run by women, eh? That business.
Well, yeah. Several of the people at least the ones that I work with very regularly are primarily women. There are guys that work there too.
But it's a company.
So you mean it's run very efficiently?
Yeah, very efficiently.
It seems to be run fairly efficiently.
I know.
One company, TN Marketing is the actual name of the company that runs Model Railroad Academy, and they run 14 different subscription services for different types of hobbies, of which Model Railroad Academy is just one. So, I mean, they do a lot of. I mean, they do similar kinds of services for people who are into RVs, who are into working on Harley Davidson motorcycles, woodworking, quilting. I mean, you name it, they do it. So
cool.
Too bad you couldn't do like a cross. You and I could do like a crossover one. Model railroading meets Harley Davidson or something.
There you go. Yeah.
And we could get Kevin Hard Part on there, and he could talk about boots. Thanks for bailing me out there, Scott, because I knew as soon as I said it, the way I said it, oh, it's run by women, eh? And I'm like, and as soon as I said it, I'm like, I was like, that was wrong.
We're going to get hate mail about this.
Yeah,
that was wrong. Yeah, but I'm a huge fan of intelligent women, so I'm cool with that. It would have been more surprising if Scott was running it.
That might not be too good.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. The reason we're here, we've managed to kill 14 minutes already. So Ron is of Ron's Trains and Things, which is a YouTube channel, which is almost, probably as we speak, is just about at 30,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty close to accurate. Yes.
So that's pretty exciting. And
very exciting.
And you started it 3 years ago?
It'd be about 3.5 years now. Yes.
Yeah, 30,000 subscribers. So that's pretty
cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, Ron. Do you feel the pressure?
Only self-imposed pressure. I do secretly in the back of my mind, I don't typically vocalize this, but I do envision receiving YouTube's silver play button, which you get for 100,000 subscribers. So I envision a silver play button on my shelf some of these days.
Wow.
I just think even 30,000 subscribers, and there's 30,000 people out there waiting with bated breath for your next video. And pressure.
Well, yeah, 30,000 is almost 10 times the size of the town where I live. And I would have never envisioned that when I started the channel. I was pleasantly amazed when I hit 100 subscribers when I first started the channel. So I had no idea that it would take off the way that it did, but it did, and it took off really quickly. And I've been blessed ever since.
Well, and it's you say you're the silver button award. The silver. What do you have to get the gold button award?
Let's see, the gold. There's a silver, gold, and diamond. Silver is 100,000. Gold is 500,000, I believe, and the diamond button is $1 million.
So you're right now. You're pursuing the silver button.
So there's someone related to our space who would have just earned his diamond play button.
Oh,
really?
Luke Towan.
Our buddy Luke Towan, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
That's amazing.
It is. He is a sensation. He's my hero.
Is he?
He puts out some amazing videos.
Oh, he does fantastic work.
As opposed to your stuff, which is crap.
What's the phrase? Marginally adequate.
I don't.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't feel so bad now about what I said. I wonder what I have. Modeler's Life has 690 subscribers. That's got to be something.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And today, Kevin Hardpart and I, well, with the help of Craig Drenko, I believe we may have had the seed of an idea for the very first of an AML award called the Spirit of Krusty.
Sounds interesting. What does one have to do to earn the Spirit of Krusty award?
I don't know, but we got to come up.
I love that Spirit of Krusty.
I do too.
I just envisioned Krusty the Clown from The Simpsons. That the Spirit of Krusty.
I don't know what that award would be for, but it has to be some sort of humanitarian thing or something. We'll have to come up with a reason why you get the Spirit of Krusty, and we could award it every year to some listener that's very deserving of it. Right.
Public service with a modicum of sarcasm and grumpiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to get the crust in there.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. That's why it's the Spirit of Krusty.
Right.
Okay, so the recent, how much time have we killed now? I can't believe anybody's listening to this. 20 minutes almost. Okay, so the reason we're here is because you do have your YouTube channel, which is Ron's Trains and Things. Oh, I don't know if you were in the room or not, but the first question Scott and I were thinking about asking you, so what exactly are the things?
Well, that's a secret. So, I mean, if I told you, then what fun would you have in trying to figure that out?
Our imaginations can go wild.
Yeah, that kind of fits in with the Spirit of Krusty.
It does.
Why did you get this award? Well, if we had to tell you.
That's right. Maybe we should take it back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you don't know, give it back to us. Wow, right. It's getting better all the time. Come on, hard part.
Somebody writing this down?
Yeah. Hard part, I hope you're writing this down, buddy. This sounds like something that you should be in charge of. So, okay. So the point is you have this YouTube channel. It's very popular. It's got around 30,000 subscribers. You use your layout it's about model railroading and instructional videos for model railroading and the different kinds of things you can do in the hobby. And now the big news in the Ron's Trains and Things world, RTNR, it's not it's in things.
Right. RTNT.
RTNT.
There you go.
Yeah, well, whatever.
It's the backwards R that confused
Yeah,
me.
that backwards R. I hate that backwards R. It's just been a thorn
I
in my
say this-
side right ever
I
since.
say this, and people think that I'm joking. It is not a joke. It is literally true. I'm dyslexic, and so people ask me about that backwards R, and I just say, "Welcome to my world."
Yeah. I like that. That's good. People should know that. And I love the intro video. I'm always like, man, this guy's really hip. Oh, no, turns out he's not.
Hi, I'm Ron of Ron's Trains and Things, and if you'd like to see more model railroad tips, tools, and techniques, then be sure and subscribe down below and click that little bell icon so you can catch future videos.
Wow, your model railroad demolition has had 17,000 views already.
People are really excited about me tearing down my layout.
I
apparently.
know.
That's-
So the reason for this show is because you're expanding your layout by quite a bit.
by total of 24 feet, I suppose, to 12 feet in 2 decks. So yeah, and replacing the old Helix with a new and improved version. Yeah.
So like more than 12 feet though, isn't it? Isn't it? Is there some place, does Ron's Trains and Things have a Facebook page?
Ron's Trains and Things does have a Facebook page. There's also yet another Facebook page dedicated to my layout, the Texas, Colorado, and Western. And you can search for that on Facebook and find some information there too. Not always updated as readily as it used to be.
No, you got too many. You got too many social.
I got too many Facebook pages.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
True.
Yeah, like I would put. Yeah, okay. And Western. All right, I'm going to click on.
Oh no, I'm looking at that, and the first post has got a really nice image of your Helix here. Very nice.
Yeah, the Helix that now resides in my garage.
Didn't you say somebody wanted to buy it or something?
I had one person almost immediately after I haven't responded because I haven't decided how to respond, but almost immediately after I posted that video, somebody sent me an email and said, "You want to sell it? How much do you want for it? How much does it weigh?" You know, asking me all these questions, and I'm like, "Okay, that's interesting." I'm not sure if they really saw it that they would really want it. I mean, it was functional on my layout, but I'm not sure being torn down and moved. I'm not sure it was quite that quality of Helix, but
It's not.
So you're taking your Helix out, Ron, and then you're expanding. But are you removing the upper deck, or what are your plans?
no, I'm going to expand both decks. Where the Helix was, the layout will turn 90 degrees, and will expand just a little over 12 feet down that actually kind of down the middle of that room. And they'll be expanding both decks. So there'll be a new Helix over kind of in the middle of the room back at the end of this expansion. And it's going to be, it'll have the same amount of vertical height. It's 24 inches vertically between the 2 decks, but it'll be a larger radius. I think I'm going to double track the new Helix. I hadn't planned to, but then somebody said, well, if you double track it, then if you have some trackage issues on one of them, you've got a backup, which is not a bad plan. And it'll also be a little flatter, won't be quite as steep a grade. So I think it will be functionally an improvement over the one that I had.
So you're one of these guys who likes to torture yourself and build not one Helix, but several Helixes.
Well, I hope not. I'm hoping this second one will be maybe my last. That other one was my first. It's the first I'd ever built.
What's the plural for helices? Is it heli?
I believe it's helices.
Helices.
Yes, it's very hard for me to say whenever I have to say it quickly, but I believe the plural of helix is helices.
Wow, look at you. Okay, and so I'm looking at the video now. What shirt are you wearing in this video?
I don't remember what shirt I was wearing.
Yeah, you're wearing a shirt in this one.
Well, that's good to know. I don't think we'd have gotten 17,000 views for otherwise.
So, okay, is there something on the other side of the wall where the helix is?
The wall behind the layout there.
Yeah, like I'm looking at the video now, and you gave an overview of the room, and I see the fireplace, and I see the helix, and I'm thinking to myself, I thought you had showed me the plan, and I thought the helix was kind of like to the left of the end of the layout.
To the left of the end of the layout.
So you need to publish your plan somewhere, obviously, and I'm sure you plan on. I'm sure you're going to do that.
Well, the old plan is actually published on that Facebook page for the Texas, Colorado, and Western.
I think I understand what's happening now.
That makes one of us.
I'm guessing the helix is on an outside wall of the foundation.
Correct.
So the layout is turning to the left towards the middle of the room.
Turning to the right.
To the right, to the middle of the room, yes.
Yes.
And it's going to go out 12 feet from there in a peninsula style sort of thing.
Correct.
And then on the other side of that peninsula, and at the end of that peninsula will be the helix, and then you had another industry you were showing me the other night.
Yes, and then that peninsula will make kind of a false wall that will divide that room. On the other side of that wall, where the fireplace is, will then become my new studio, which I've been sorely lacking and needing for some time.
Wow.
Right.
That's one of my dreams, is to be in a video in your studio. I want to happen. Absolutely, it's going to happen. I whether you want me to or not, I'm showing up.
Okay, well, not a problem.
Absolutely, because you don't live that far from Tony Cook or Midwest Model Railroad Supply. Is it Midwest Model Railroad Supply?
Just Midwest Model Railroad.
Okay, yeah, and you don't live that far from there, because they're in Independence, Missouri, which is about an hour and a half from where you live.
Correct.
Live.
Tony would be about 2 hours from here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You guys should converse more often. Yeah. So, okay. So, and then did you do anything to the room? Or you just kind of like, are you one of these guys that went, like for me, when I built my layout room, I had been fortunate enough to been to a layout before that I was very influenced by, just outside the Detroit area, and the guy had finished the room. The room was beautifully finished, which to me just made the whole layout look 10 times better. Yeah. And that's kind of, you're in that situation, aren't you, Scott? Like your room is properly finished, is it not?
It is.
And the ambiance, it just makes the layout that much more of a pleasant experience. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I put a lot of effort into my room design and making it comfortable, because I just like to, it's your space where you get away from the day-to-day pressures. Mm-hmm. It's your fun space to escape to. So I didn't want it to look, I wanted it to look very finished, very clean and attractive. So I like being in there.
Okay. And so is that your plan, Ron, with yours, or?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the story behind my layout room. I'll use that term, even though I use it a little bit loosely. When we moved into the house, our basement, the biggest part of our basement was one large open L-shaped room. It's about 600 square feet. And it has a fireplace in the corner, and it was carpeted. And so when we were discussing, how we were going to use the space in the house, we decided that this room would be a combination of layout room and family room. So the area where the helix just came out, and then on to the right where the fireplace is, that area in between there has been our family room for the last 10 years, which has been good because it meant I could work on the layout, and usually my kids were down there playing games or watching TV, and so we were doing different things, but together in the same room, and that was good. Now, two of my kids are grown and out on their own. The third one will be within another couple of years. And with the whole COVID thing happening, we were at home, we had a lot of time, and we had been talking about doing some projects for a while, and just decided this was the time. So what we did was we moved our family room upstairs to our front living room.
Right. Took
the TV out, all that sort of thing. Ripped out all the carpet. I've just put down new laminate flooring, repainting. I mean, we're with the exception of the layout itself, we basically have redone everything in this big 600 square foot room. And so now that allows for an expansion of the layout here and the studio. And then also over on the other side, going to put in kind of a lounge area with the idea that one of these days I'll have some crews come in and actually operate this railroad, and it'll be a comfortable space for them to be able to hang out in between assignments and after the session and such. So
yeah, because it wouldn't be that far to. I mean, Kansas City has a very robust operating population. So, I mean,
yes.
it wouldn't be that impossible to get people to come down for a Saturday and have an operating session.
Right, especially if you got several guys who could carpool together, and it's not such a large layout that it would take a large crew. I think most model railroaders, if you ask them, how much space is enough for a model railroad, most of them would say just a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I think I have realized the point at which, again, I live in a small town and I'm far enough from Kansas City or other areas where there are model railroaders that it's hard for me to get people to come to help work on the layout.
Sure.
And I think I've kind of reached the level at which, okay, this is how much model railroad I can handle and build and maintain by myself.
But when you say just a little bit more, Ron, don't you think the trend in the hobby, though, is to go smaller?
Well, with some it is, yeah. Smaller and higher quality, higher detail, higher fidelity. And I'm one that I really want to strike a balance between high fidelity modeling and operation. I really enjoy operations. I designed this railroad with the idea of being able to operate it. I want to be able to do that. I know some operations guys that are fine with basically a plywood Pacific. Hey, I got the track and where everything is and operate it. That's not my goal. So I think I'm trying to kind of strike a balance in between those. I don't need so much railroad that I can never finish it, but I want enough to make it operationally interesting for a handful of operators.
That reminds me when you said plywood Pacific and guys that are just interested in operation. You guys probably both remember when David Barrow's layout was featured, where he went from a scenic layout to absolutely bare bones so that he could switch it. I mean, make changes on the fly whenever he felt like it.
Yeah.
But he ended up just using pictures for industries and absolutely no scenery. It was all about the operation and bulletproof track, like a Code 100 Atlas track throughout the layout.
And I know some in the Kansas City area, one or two that I could name that are pretty well known, that are large, impressive layouts operationally, but that are just about that, I'm going to facetiously say just about that interesting as far as, scenery and structures and the model building part are concerned. I enjoy model building and I enjoy the scenery too much to be able to just let that slide for the sake of operation.
Yeah, and I wasn't a huge fan of that version of the Cat Mountain in Santa Fe. I mean, I know the one you talk about.
The domino version.
Domino thing, that's what it was called. And I wasn't a huge fan of that because I'm like you. I think scenery really makes the layout come alive, and it's a fun thing to do. I'm at I'm watching this model railroad demolition thing, and on mute while we're talking, and I'm at the 5 minute and 50-second mark, and where you're under the layout. Now, I find
that's my favorite place to hang out.
Yeah, I find that. I'm actually finding that this scene a little disturbing, so I would really appreciate it if you didn't do it again.
Get under the layout?
I don't know why, but you got the camera below you, your head's up.
I actually filmed that particular scene. I filmed on my phone.
Oh, okay.
But,
I don't know.
That was the only way I could get where I needed to be.
Yeah, we're looking right up your nostrils, and you kind of look like a beaver or something.
Have you ever tried to film yourself underneath your layout?
Well, I think that's my whole point. No, I haven't.
Yeah, but the next scene makes up for it.
Okay, all right.
You know what the next scene is? Have you gotten there yet?
No, I haven't gotten there yet. No, I kind of got disturbed by this one.
Yeah, I'm kind of scared to know what the next scene is.
There you go. You're with your dog.
With the dog. There you go. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And he's quite happy the way they loved. Oh, he put up his paw. There you go. So okay. So what did you do in order? Did you have like okay, I'm going to finish the room? Did you have some sort of a plan of what you were going to do with the room?
Yeah,
Like
I had a
as-
plan before I started doing anything.
Did you put down carpet, or what did you put?
No, we took up carpet. I put down a laminate flooring. So it's a hard surface flooring, and then I'm going to get some because I know what that's like standing on. Although that laminate has got a little more give to it than like a regular hardwood does. But I'm going to get they make these wonderful cushy pads that you can stand on. I think they were originally designed, or I first saw them for use for women in their kitchen, putting in front of the stove whenever they're working long hours. I'm going to get a series of those to put in the places where people will typically stand a lot, in front of the yard and some of those places.
Women don't necessarily just stay in the kitchen, right? Thank God.
I know, but
he
my
bailed me out.
My mother-in-law does. So.
You bailed me out. Thank God.
You're welcome.
Isn't that what you did, Scott? In your room, you have laminate floor and then those pads around the layout?
Yes, I do. And those foam pads are only temporary because eventually I'm going to put some carpet in to replace those pads, because the pads are great because they cushion your feet, but they can get beat up and they're cheap, so you can easily replace them.
Okay. So you're going to put carpet over the laminate floor or take that out altogether?
No, I'm going to keep basically half the floor is laminate and half of it are those foam tiles.
Okay.
But when I get the scenery to a certain stage where it's, maybe 75% complete, I'll replace the foam tiles with some carpet section. Yeah.
All right. So anyways, okay. So you're going to put in a laminate floor, Mr. Marsh, and then anything like, are you going to build the divider wall that comes out? Are you going to build like a stud wall, a full wall, or are you going to build a partial wall, or what are you going to do?
It's going to be it'll be full height. It's going to be kind of a false wall because I've already put the flooring in, and so this wall it'll tie into the wall where the helix was, and it'll tie into a joist in the ceiling. And on the other end, there's actually a support post that has a wooden box built around it. It'll tie into that. It will not actually tie into the floor. I'm going to put feet on the side where the layout primarily will be, and then I'm going to hang drywall on the other side because, like I said, that's going to be my studio area. But that way, if we ever decide to sell the house or decide to do something different, I can take it out without damaging the floor. And I'm going to set what actually touches the floor, I'm gonna put a cardboard barrier in between so we don't scratch up the floor.
That's a good idea. So basically, you're putting in a temporary wall, for the layout, and then when you go to sell the house, you can take out. That'll be popular too, because then you can make another demolition.
Exactly. Yeah, I could tear it out.
Now, have you given any thought to basically? It seems like, have you given any thought? This is an idea I've never thought of. This might be a really great idea. And Scott, I'm interested in your input on this one. Have you given any thought to perhaps building temporary layouts, and then just destroying them? Because you've had so many views on this. I mean, kind of like a demolition derby that you see at a county fair where you just wreck cars by running into each other. You could build a layout.
Build
two layouts on wheels and crash them into one another.
Yeah. Well, we actually used to do that when we first got into the hobby as young boys. We used to put our hamsters on the trains and run them as fast as we could, crash them.
Oh, you're gonna get letters from PETA as well as the hate mail from the feminists. All the same.
Oh yeah, it was fun. It was a good time.
It sounds fun. Who was it that it was on the podcast not too long ago? Was it James Lincoln who was talking about as a kid having Lionel trains and a ramp where they would see how far they could jump them across the basement?
That's right. It was Jim Lincoln.
Yeah, I thought.
Can you help me here, Ron?
I'll try. Can
we just back up a couple of stops there? I thought I heard Scott say we put our hamsters on the trains.
Yeah, I had a friend who had a hamster named Hammy, and he was a model railroader, and we used to get together, and he'd always give his hamster Hammy a ride on the train at about 100 miles an hour. Now, come on. There's other model railroaders out there when they were young that put their pets on the tracks as the charging train was bearing down on it.
tied them up like the damsel in distress.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awful.
It hit the guinea pig and derailed the train. Yep.
Yeah, this is a lot of things are starting to make sense to me now.
That's a rabbit trail we can backtrack from, please.
So, Ron, maybe Ron's gone on mute. So, Ron,
Yes.
can you help me here? Because I think I dozed off.
Okay.
And I think I had this dream where Scott Thornton, the inventor of the creator, the idea guy of the proto throttle, which is sweeping the nation, I had this dream where he said he put his hamsters on his model railroad and ran them really fast to see if it would fall off.
It sounds like a nightmare to me. You gotta quit eating pepperoni pizza before you go to bed.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was when I was like 10 years old, but
yeah, that's hey, you know what, Ron?
What?
I'm thinking I just found the very first recipient
Krusty Award.
The Krusty Award.
Krusty.
10-year-old Scott Thornton.
Yeah,
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
Oh, okay. All right. So let me ask a serious question. The other thing I just thought of too is rather than build several layouts and just destroy them to make the videos, we could indiscriminately go to people's houses, model railroaders' homes, and
destroy their layouts.
Yeah, this is quality. This is quality stuff right here.
Well,
as fun as that sounds.
But seriously, though, I mean, when you talk about what Ron's doing with your video production, and you're building a really nice N scale layout, but you're also producing all this video content. And when you talk about Luke Towan, Luke builds all these awesome dioramas, and he has a whole collection of his dioramas that he just attaches to his wall. It's like his
right.
wall of creativity. And I've often thought it would be neat, and I haven't seen this really done. Maybe you guys could tell me if you've seen this done before by model railroaders, but where you just build a module or a section at a particular theme, and maybe it connects to a bigger, module type of layout. Maybe it doesn't. But as model railroaders, we have so many different interests, at least I do, and I think a lot of other modelers do too, that when you start to build a layout, haven't we all thought at one point, gosh, I wonder if this theme that I'm building on this layout is going to get not boring, but just a little, I don't know what the word is, but just it'll get old. But what if you approach the hobby where you built different theme modules and just collected those modules? You know what I mean? Don't you think that'd be interesting approach to the hobby?
It certainly could be, and this isn't exactly what you're describing, but I in addition to my permanent layout that we're looking at here, I've also got a portable layout. It's not very far along, but I'm in the process of building. That is, it is also in scale, but it is completely different. It's not modern. It's set in the early 1950s. It actually is a model of the town where I live, which was the end of a branch line on the KD back then. And I'm also getting ready to start building a module in HO scale, primarily for the sake of fodder for the channel, but also because there's some stuff that I'd like to model from the era in which I fell in love with trains in the early 70s that I want to model in HO scale.
Yeah, well, we're all familiar, like with Tony Custer's LDE, the layout design element,
right? Yeah.
And Tony's published over the years basically the same idea, where you have one or two modules, and then maybe on either side of the module you have permanent sections that are staging. But then, I don't know, I just think that'd be a cool way to build a layout where you could build two modules in one particular theme, and then when you have those completed, you could switch them out, or keep them, but build two more modules in a completely different approach.
I see what you're saying. You're talking about, so you'd have like the permanent staging parts there, but you would swap out the the modeled online parts as far as the modules are concerned.
Right.
Yeah, it is interesting.
I've just booked us 2 seats into Sydney, Australia, so that we can go to Luke Town's house and bust up some of his stuff. I mean, that would be.
Does Luke listen to this?
I think so occasionally.
Well, he is a pilot. He could probably even fly us in.
Yeah.
For the destruction.
Yeah. Yeah. And Scott could bring his hamsters, and
I'll bring the hamsters. I'll bring the gerbils and the hamsters and the guinea pigs, and we'll have a grand time.
I'll just pack my hammer and crowbar.
So, anyways.
I tried to get us back on the.
Yeah, you did
on the straight and narrow, but
yeah, you tried. And you got to give you effort for trying. Man, I'm watching you take this Helix apart. You're just, I wonder why this is so popular. I mean, this is like one of your most popular videos ever, as far as quickly escalating into a lot of views.
Yeah, it was the fastest. No, let me back up and say that differently. It had the most views in the first 72 hours of any video I've ever produced.
Does that tell you something, Ron? That
I don't know what that tells me.
There's all these dissatisfied model railroaders out there who are ready to destroy their layouts and start over.
I wonder what it would have done if I had literally taken the sledgehammer to it. I don't know if it would have been better or worse.
Man, you just don't know what's coming out of Scott's mouth. One minute it's I actually think you've made a really valid point, which I find hard to. I'm struggling, but I think you've made a very valid point. I bet you there's a lot of people out there who are dissatisfied with their layouts, who are struggling to figure out what to do next, and the reason they are watching this is because they're looking for some sort of, if this guy can take his layout and build a new layout, maybe I can do the same thing.
Well, since you mentioned that, let me tell you a little bit of the story behind this expansion, which, in part, if I may, is a little bit of the story behind the layout in general. Because the heart of my layout is Saginaw, Texas, and North Yard, and it always has been. I lived in Fort Worth, in North Fort Worth, for 6 years, and I drove through Saginaw every day for 3 years, going to and from work, and I always thought that Saginaw and North Yard were just an area that begged to be modeled. It had tons of really, really interesting industries that were rail served, that were lined up right in a straight row, right along basically a double main for BNSF, and there's a UP main that goes through there, and these huge grain elevators. It's just fascinating. So, that's been the inspiration for this layout and my previous layout as well. When I built this version with the space that I had, the first thing I built was North Yard because I wanted to make sure I had plenty of space for North Yard. The problem was I didn't really have enough space to do Saginaw justice as I wanted to. So all of the industries ended up getting kind of bunched together, and they were really truncated, and I was never very happy with it. This layout is going to allow me to take Saginaw, which had been crunched into about 3.5 feet, and expand it to 12 feet along the lower deck of this layout. So basically, I'm getting to almost like taking a mulligan here. I'm getting to take the most frustrating part of my layout and completely rebuild it, which I know is something a lot of people would really like to be able to do. Everybody who's ever built a layout knows that, I've got that one spot that I just wish I could rebuild some way. And that's what I'm getting to do here. And I think maybe that's why people have found this interesting, more than just the fact that I'm yanking a Helix apart.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been watching it here, and you haven't been on the scales for a while, have you?
Yes, I am.
Oh my goodness.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh, listen to this guy, Mr. Put the Hamster on the train, going, oh my goodness, give me a break.
Yeah. That's when I was 10,
I'm telling you, Lionel, you're not going to want to answer your mail next week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. So all right. So, and isn't in Saginaw, Michigan? Don't they have some big tower or some? They have a big
Saginaw. This is Saginaw, Texas.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Saginaw, Texas. They have a big yard there. Be a big BNSF yard there. And isn't there,
actually have 2 BNSF yards in Saginaw.
And don't they? And I thought there was some sort of tower There's some tower in that area where everybody goes to hang out. Chris Atkins knows all about that, I think.
Tower.
Yeah, they have Tower Day or Saginaw Day or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of another place. We'll have to get Chris Atkins to help us out with that one. I should give him a call right now. I should get him.
The thing Saginaw does have, and one of the things that I'm looking forward to doing differently, Saginaw has actually 3 huge grain elevator complexes. But one of them was, at one time, it was the largest grain elevator under one leg in the world. Just a massive thing. And on the layout as it was, the only representation I had for it was basically a background model that was not rail served. I'm going to get to actually build. It'll be a truncated version, but the actual grain elevator is a quarter of a mile long. My version is going to be a little over 5 feet long on the new layout. So I'm very excited about building that, and that'll be scratch built.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. And that's going to give you tons of stuff to shoot for your videos too, right?
Yeah. That'll be fun.
Do you have trouble coming up with ideas for your videos? Because how often do you try to put a video out?
I try to put out a video every week, every Tuesday. I don't always get that done, but I try really hard to do that. Topic-wise, no, I never run short of topics. I run short of time. So, sometimes I'll have a video that I'm like, okay, I want to get this done for next week. And then I realize, okay, this project was bigger than I could get done. So now I've got to kind of scramble to come up with something that I can put out that's good for this week while I put this other one off so I have time to finish the project so I can get the video up. So, that's sometimes a struggle, but no, I've got a list of topics and projects that are probably longer than I'll ever really get done. The exciting thing about the layout expansion is that it's going to allow me to deal with some topics that I didn't get to deal with on my layout before. I haven't gotten to do bench work because when I started the YouTube channel, my bench work was all done. I haven't done anything with layout lighting because my lighting was already done. I haven't done backdrops or fascias because those were done. Now I get to do all of those things. So it's opened up a whole lot of new video fodder that I think people will really like and really respond to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole thing of just people being able to follow along with the build, I think will be fun for everybody.
Yeah.
If you have in between going to different people's houses and destroying their layouts,
and the brief stints in jail from having torn down people's layouts.
Yeah. The first time you'll probably get just probation, so you'll be able to go on to the next layout. And we needed, you know what? This would be really good is if you showed up to take down a person's layout with a cage full of hamsters.
Oh my goodness.
Scott, you are like one of my favorite people in the whole world.
Hey, I'm just speaking the truth.
Well, that's good. Yeah,
I'm just speaking the truth.
Yeah,
there isn't a 10-year-old model railroader out there who hasn't put a critter on the tracks.
Okay.
They might not admit it, but it's the truth.
Holy mackerel. Somebody's just veered off. At some point, somebody's veered off the road into the ditch.
But they can't feel the pain because they're laughing too hard.
Yeah, exactly.
When I'm leafing through some of Ron's Facebook pictures here too of his layout, and it's just reminding me how much can be done in N scale.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's just like, man, you can get so much in such a smaller area. It's really cool.
So okay.
That's part of what drew me to N scale in the first place. I didn't originally set out to model in N scale, but when I was in my 20s, I collected all this HO scale stuff. But we moved every 2 or 3 years, so I never got the opportunity to build a layout. So finally, I decided, I'm going to go buy some of this N scale stuff and build I built a little 4x4 layout that I could move with me anywhere. And after I played with that little 4x4 for about 4 or 5 years, I sold all my HO stuff and never looked back. And just fell in love with it.
Yeah, and N scale runs so well now.
It does. Yeah, it was already improving then, and this has been close to 25 years ago, but it's come so far in the last 20 years.
Like, I always get the feeling like when I go to a train show like Springfield or someplace like that, it's like, I don't know, I always get the feeling from N scale that it runs like nowadays it runs like a Swiss watch. it runs so well. Like, I understand that HO runs really well too, but it's got more size, more bulk, and of course O scale runs well. But it's like
Sure.
you look at N scale and you're thinking, man, this stuff just runs like a Swiss watch. It's so smooth and everything. It just runs so friggin' well.
Yeah, that's right. And there's some excellent modelers out there in the N scale realm, and they just do amazing things. I'm trying to remember the name of that modular layout that was at St. Louis the last time. It was the Milwaukee Road one. Do you remember that? I'm trying to remember. It had Bill Denton. Remember Bill?
Yes, I remember Bill. Yes.
I'm trying to remember what the name of that layout was, but boy, was that an excellent modular N scale layout. I mean, it operated extremely well. The scenery was amazing, and it had a basic overall theme. It wasn't this hodgepodge of different, modules that were designed differently. It was well put together. It was very cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, just walked on into the studio is none other than our pal from Argyle, Texas, home of the Fighting Sox, is none other than our buddy Chris Atkins.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Chris, how are you?
You guys shouldn't leave the door open like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when
who's
I need
going to wander
snack.
in.
Because I was looking for a snack, and
So I invited Chris in here while you guys were busy talking because we got onto that Saginaw, Texas question, and I thought Chris would be ideal to answer it. So let me give you a quick recap, Chris. We've discovered who the first recipient of the Spirit of Krusty Award is. And apparently a lot of kids when they were younger ran their trains with their pet hamsters on them. So that's about as far as we've gotten.
It took us an hour and a half to get there.
Yeah. And Chris put himself on mute as soon as he heard me say that.
Yeah, he did. Maybe he was wanting to go for the award.
Yeah. Maybe he's disappointed. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe he needed to put his hamsters back in the cage.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's back. He's back.
All right. Where'd you go, Chris? Oh, now he's done something to his mic. Something's happened. I turned his off. All right. Well, we'll keep talking here. All right. So you've put in laminate floor. You've repainted the room, I'm assuming.
Yes.
The fireplace stays, and that's going to be how big is the new studio, the new Ron Strange and Things studio going to be?
Well, let's see. I haven't actually measured that, but it'll be approximately probably 12 by 12.
Wow.
With a fireplace backdrop, and
that's going to be a good size.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
So you're going to be able to do like fireside chats.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Is the fireplace actually you're going to keep it so it can be in the scene sometime?
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to start doing most of my, my intros and closings. I usually do in that section over there, the mountain section of my layout. I think I'm going to start doing those in that studio area with the fireplace, the backdrop, and I've got all the, railroad memorabilia and antique stuff on the mantle. And
okay, sitting in a rocking chair,
it's a gas log, so I can light up a fire in the wintertime if I want to.
Kind of a Burl Ives kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I might sing.
Yeah.
That'll be the death of the channel right there.
Hi, this is Ron of Ron's Trains and Things.
Hi, I'm Ron of Ron's Trains and Things, and if you'd like to see more model railroad tips, tools, and techniques, then be sure and subscribe down below and click that little bell icon so you can catch future videos.
You watch too many of the videos when that's rolling around in your brain all the time.
When you wake up hearing it, that's
yeah. Chris is struggling with his microphone. I turned it off. He doesn't.
No, I'm good to go. I had something happened, but I'm back.
Yeah, but now you sound very echoey. I think you're not on your mic. You're on your computer now. Are you? Is this Ralph?
You know what happened was as soon as I got going and you started talking, I think my battery died on my microphone, so I plugged in, and according to the software, I'm on my headset. So
it's very unpleasant sounding. I mean, you sound great, but the sound from because it sounds very much like you're on your.
Any better?
No.
Good. Oh, let me try that.
We had a good question for you too.
Oh, okay. How about that?
That's perfect.
There you go. Yes.
Well, it seems like this happened last time. You just got to go in there and turn it off and back on, and it works. So.
There you go. You do actually have to when. So we have a question for you. So this podcast is about Ron's Trains and Things. That's Ron Marsh. He is rebuilding his layout. He's expanding his layout. So this is Scott Thornton is actually the co-host, and you've now joined him as a co-host because Scott's basically Scott's basically been scaring us with some of his childhood tales. And so Ron's layout is based on Saginaw, Texas, and points west. Is that what it is, Ron?
Yes, Saginaw and Wichita Falls.
And so, isn't there some sort of a tower, or there's tower days or something in Saginaw, Texas?
Yeah, they have 24 hours at Saginaw every Labor Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day, I think. I have to look it up now. It's one of those long weekend holidays.
Right, and it's 24. And what is exactly 24 hours at Saginaw?
It's a train watching event put on by, I think it's officially sponsored by our local chapter of the Railroad Historical Society.
Okay. Is there some sort of a tower there or something?
No, there's 3 sets of diamonds there, and they moved in the old depot, so it sits there at the diamonds. So it's possible there used to be a tower at one time. There are a lot of towers in Texas.
All right.
They all had unique numbers, and if I knew a lot more about the history, I'd know what tower was there. But that tower has been long gone, but that depot has been sitting there for a while.
So it's the 24 hours of Saginaw.
Mm-hmm.
And
Lionel, are you thinking of Tower 55 down in Fort Worth?
I don't think so. I'm thinking of whatever it is Chris has told me. I think I'm thinking of 24 hours of Saginaw.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
there's a Facebook group, and they've got photos there. You can see the grassy field. Oh, it looks like it used to be Tower 29 at Saginaw. There's a photo there also from the John W. Behringer photo library, which is cool.
Yeah. Look at you coming in here. So were you aware of any of that, Ron? Any of these 24 hours of Saginaw?
No, I wasn't, but I haven't lived down there in a couple of decades, so
yeah, all right. It's all right. No, it's just I was interesting when you said you modeled Saginaw, Texas. It was interesting because I remember Chris talking about it in some form or another.
That would actually be a fun event to go down.
It is. It's a lot of fun, and I'm pretty sure it's Memorial Day because I'm pretty sure they didn't have it this year because of the COVID.
Well, I will definitely make sure to know which holiday it is before I drive down.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, you can sit down there and watch trains anytime. It's pretty
That is
easy.
true. I did for many a day in the years that we lived there in the area.
Yeah, don't let Doc Seth Gartner get involved in that because he tricked me into showing up for the Norfolk and Western Historical Society meet in Salisbury, North Carolina. He tricked me into showing up the weekend before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So don't let Doc get involved in that. All right. So we only got a little bit of time left. How much time do we have left? Let's look on the big board here and see. We got about a half an hour left. So we got to get serious about getting this layout finished. So so you're building a divider wall. That's and you're going to have it's 12 by 12 studio. It's going to be a fair size.
Well, I need a lot of space.
No, yeah, but I guess when I was looking at your plan, I guess the wall is going to be pretty much where the helix was, eh? So you're going to be a fair amount of ways from the fireplace.
Right. It may be a little narrower from there to the fireplace. I know it's 12 from that back wall out to kind of where the helix is. From the fireplace to the wall, I'm going to put in maybe a little less than 12, but it's in that ballpark. But, by the time you set up, I mean, if I use that to film myself, I got to stand in front of the hearth and the fireplace. So I got a couple of feet there. I got to have cameras set up in front of me and lights not right in my face. So it takes some space.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure it takes a ton of space. No, I'm thinking more like in that realm of 12 by 12. It's a good size. It's going to give you lots of room to do lots of things.
And I have this massive desk that I have my computer set up on that will be part of that as well. So,
okay, cool. All right. So what kind of construction do you plan on using for are you going with the open grid benchwork kind of thing?
Yeah. I think so. I mean, this is going to be that on the lower deck. That is all going to be basically one industrial area. I mean, it's going to be just Saginaw industrial. So I'm thinking fairly flat, open grid bench work there.
So I'm sorry, I cut you off, which I do all
no,
the
that's
time.
okay. Go ahead.
So am I getting this right? Then the layout is basically going to run 12 feet out from the wall where the helix was. Then the helix is going to be there at the end of the wall, and then it'll go up the helix and back down the wall and reconnect. So both ends of the layout will be reconnected. So what Correct. Is other than the helix, what's already been built and established is going to stay.
Well, yeah, I'm going to redo some of that short section between the helix and where the layout curves back to North Yard. That trackage is going to change on both decks. Because basically where I've got Saginaw crammed into about 3 feet on the lower deck now, that trackage is going to come out. There's going to be just one industry there, and then everything else is going to move around and get spread out so I can do it more justice. The same way on the upper deck. On the upper deck, right now at the top of the helix, I have a very small, very limited model of Bowie, Texas, that is entirely too close to my Wichita Falls, Texas. So Bowie is going to move 12 feet down to the new helix, and then that is mostly going to be just open country, good old fascinating, Northwest Texas scenery. But really just trying to get some mainline run in between some towns there.
I thought Wichita Falls was in Kansas. That's just Wichita.
Wichita is in Kansas. Wichita Falls is in North Texas.
Is Wichita must be a popular name of some sort.
Must be.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's an Indian name.
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
There's a Wichita River too.
The old Wichita River.
Right. Yeah. In fact, I modeled the Wichita River on the layout.
So I'm interested in your opinion about this, Chris. So we're fascinated by the fact that Ron's video that he released just a week or so ago about demolishing his layout has been his most fastest growing video that he's ever made.
Oh, did he set anything on fire?
No, he didn't. He wasn't like our buddy. We got to talk to him too, Shane Murphy, the Cosmic Cowboy. But believe it or not, our pal Scott Thornton made a very insightful observation about why maybe it's so popular. And what he said was, and tell me, Scott, if I get this wrong, I'm paraphrasing. What he said was that maybe a lot of modelers aren't necessarily happy with their layouts and are looking for inspiration to do the same thing as Ron is doing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's an interesting theory.
Yeah, it's like it actually makes a lot of sense to me that a lot of people are unhappy with sections of their layout, or it's their first layout and they're not sure that they've done what they want, and you discover so much stuff when you build that first or second layout that you're trying to trudge forward, but you're really not that happy, and then you kind of start over again. I
think another piece of that puzzle might be the fact that I don't remember exactly if it was the title, but I know in the thumbnail, it was very clear that I was destroying a helix, and there are a lot of people who have general disdain for a helix in any place, shape, form, location, purpose. So might have been just a general hate for helices that that drew them in.
I always thought it'd be cool to build a helix.
It was fun to build, and I kind of look forward to building another one. A lot of the complaints that people have about them, I didn't really have. A lot of people, they complain because, your train gets lost in the helix and you don't see it for a long time. Well, I solved that just by leaving my helix open. In fact, my helix was literally the centerpiece of our family room for the last 10 years. 8 years. So,
you get a lot of comments too. One guy, thanks for showing the helix demonstration. Can't wait to see the new changes in construction process. I have thought for a future layout to build a level towards the back that ties in and into the helix, and the helix would require fewer turns. Yeah, so it's like, and it's going to be interesting to see you build it. Do you have plans for how you would build the new helix differently than the one that you have?
Yeah, I'm still working on that a little bit in detail, but yes. The helix I just tore out was built with, and there's probably names that people give to this. I don't know what they are, but basically with that helix, I set a good foundation. The first turn was a solid piece of plywood. I cut it out of a full sheet, and worked very carefully to make sure I had the grade perfect on that first turn. And then the rest of it, I cut the rest of it. I cut quarter turns, so each piece was a quarter of a turn. And then just, knew that I needed blocks that were 2 inches tall in between them. And so I set up a jig and just cut 2-inch blocks. And so as long as my grade was perfect on the first one, it exactly matched it on all the other turns, which was pretty simple. It took me a month to build it because you got to set a turn and then you got to, lay the track and you got to wire it and you let that set up and test it and then you build another turn. You can only do like a turn every other day, but it was fun. The new helix I'm pretty sure I'm going to build with threaded rod, and use that method on it, because the one problem I had with the other one, this won't be an issue, but my other one was built when the room was carpeted, so part of the support actually sat on carpet. Well, over time it sagged, just a little bit, not enough that it really was a serious problem, but enough that it bothered me. Well, if I had built it with the threaded rod, I could have adjusted for that.
So Ron, I wonder if when you do the video on building the helix, if you'll actually outdo the tearing apart the helix. I wonder if people actually are searching for helix tutorials and they found your demo video.
That's a good question. That'll be interesting. And I have over time had several people ask me to do videos on the building of a helix, as well as on how to lay out grades. And so I'm going to have the opportunity to do both of those. But yeah, that's a good question. That's a good point. We'll find that out one of these days.
You mean layout grades for the helix? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I've had people ask about that, as well as just how do you lay out a grade, even if it was part of the layout, not necessarily in the helix.
Because I don't know. Excuse me. I wonder what the rule of thumb. I don't know that much about helices or helices or however you say that, but how many revolutions is appropriate? Because if you want to maximize. If you want to minimize the amount of time that the train is in the helix, what kind of grade can you build into it?
You've got to balance three things. You've got to balance, maybe four things. You've got to balance the grade. Okay, how much grade can I really handle and actually pull a train up with whatever amount of power I normally would want to use in the helix, and also you got to consider your radius there, because that's also going to put drag on your train, and you've got to consider what your minimum clearance is going to be, depending on what exactly you pull up. For me, in scale, I'm a modern modeler, so I have double stack trains, so I have to have a minimum of a full 2 inches of clearance from the top of the rail to the bottom of the plywood on the level above, and after that, it's a matter of math.
And the height that you want to gain would be the fourth one.
Right, and the height, and that was the fourth thing, and the height you want to gain. And that's part of my situation is I have 2 decks and I have grain elevators on the lower deck, so I have to have 24 inches from railhead to railhead between my decks. That's why my helix is so big.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the radius is not only does it affect the performance of your equipment, but also, like you're saying, there's this thing about going around curves that it takes more energy to go around the curve than it does just to climb a straight line. So that compounds the grade. And so a lot of times it's not really about the time it takes to climb the helix. It's about doing it in a manner that you can have the trains as long as you want, plus you get smooth operation. And so
for me personally, the time in the helix is actually a plus. As long as everything functions like it's supposed to in the helix, from Saginaw to Wichita Falls in reality is about 100 miles. Having 120 feet of track inside of a helix in between those is not a bad thing, because it creates time in between those, which gives you the illusion of distance.
Chris, do you have helix on your layout?
I do. My helix is an interesting story. I salvaged it from a club I used to be in, And my wife went down there and removed it from the club when the club disbanded. And this Helix is beautiful. The guy that built it was a cabinet maker, and it's made out of very high quality material. Unfortunately, it's very wide, tall. The diameter is extreme. And so when we rolled it out of the little closet thing that we had it in down there, it wouldn't fit through the door. And so no problem. We were leaving the club anyway, so I just took a circular saw and I cut the header of the door out, hit it with a hammer a few times, and away we went. Well, so I put it in my garage and then realized, the door of the section house, 120-year-old building, 125-year-old building, is it's the same height. So what? I'm not going to take a saw to that. So it sat in my garage for about 4 years at least, until last year I finally went out there and I kind of made it flat on two sides so I could get it down to the 6 feet 8 inches, because it was 6 feet 10 inches was the diameter. So anyway,
so you had space to cut it down and not.
Yeah, I made it. It was
really
tough.
hurt.
It was, but so now it's sitting in there. And the other problem with the Helix I have is that it takes up so much space. I'm reluctant to install it because I don't want to walk around it when I'm doing construction. Is the main thing. So it's just it's leaning against the wall at the end of the section house, and like I said, it was in my garage over 4 years before that.
And how much? So how wide is the section house?
It's roughly 16 feet, a little less.
And how wide is the Helix?
6 feet.
Okay, so it's
10 inches.
Yeah, so I'm assuming the shelves of the layout are.
It fits. It fits in the in the track plan where I've designed it. It fits. That's not a problem. The problem is I just don't want to walk around it.
Yeah, sure.
It's in the way.
So, Ron, will you build this Helix in place, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I'm interested in that.
I could build it in my garage, but I don't really see any reason to. It's hot out there.
Yeah, and I'm interested in this threaded rod because that seems to be a very popular way to do it, and I think it's a really good way to do it because it makes it so adjustable. And we know Tom Jacobs did that for his Reading Cross Line, which is in a 20 by 36 foot building. Inside dimensions are approximately 18.5 by 34.5.
And how many levels is that?
There's 2 levels in that building with 4 stairs. There's no fire suppression system yet, though. So that's something he's working on. There is an escape hatch if you're particularly not necessarily thin, but not a particularly. I think Scott would fit through it, but
no, not me.
No, there's no way Ron's making it. Ron has somehow convinced himself he's only 250 pounds more. He hasn't been on the scale since 95. So.
I talked to a lady I work with today, and she was talking about the COVID-19. She's talking about the 19 pounds you gain during the COVID.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
That's the COVID-19. I thought that was pretty funny. I'd heard it called the COVID-10 before, but the COVID-19. It's pretty close. Yeah.
Chris, I'm sorry, Lionel.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I know this is Ron's time, but I wanted to ask Chris a question because I noticed on your Facebook page that you have this ingenious wall hanging where it's configured to take the resin out of your printer and dump it back in the bottle. Mm-hmm. Did you design that yourself? And how did you?
I got that off of Thingiverse, and I just printed it with my FDM printer. It's just
that's awesome.
Yeah, there's lots of things like that on there. If you just search for the brand of printer you're using, and in my case, I searched for Anycubic Photon, and I found all kinds of cool little gadgets, funnels, and things. And so I was looking for a way to tip the bottle upside down and leave it while it drained. And I thought that
works really well.
Yeah, it seems to work. Yeah.
Now you're going to have to explain to people what you're talking about. I'm sorry, Ron. We're taking up more of your time.
Yeah.
I was more expected to go. I'm sorry. I figured he had some question about.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I know that was a rabbit trail, but I was just perusing on Chris's Facebook page and people can go to his Facebook page. It's HO Scale Sheridan and Everywhere West. And
I think it's facebook.com/Sheridan West or something like that.
Yeah, Sheridan Everywhere West, and there's yellow cars, and there's
right. And if you went to his Facebook page, Lionel went to June 6th, Ron too, you can see this little ingenious thing that he stuck on his wall. Because I've got one of those printers too, so I had to ask.
Yeah. It's kind of like if you're changing your oil and you want to get every last drop of the oil out of the oil pan, after you changed it. Not the oil pan that's attached to your engine, but the one that's on the ground. It's kind of like that. Try to get the resin all the way to drain.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ron. We're leaving your topic now. It's no longer.
No.
It's okay. I've actually seen that little gadget, and it is pretty ingenious.
No, I wanted to make a comment about helixes for N scale because Michael Peterson. You guys will find this interesting. Michael Peterson's an N scale modeler too, and he has a CNC machine that he uses to cut wood and different things, and he designed a really slick template for constructing a threaded helix. So Ron, you might be interested in touching base with Michael because it would make a great topic for one of your videos, because if you saw how it was designed, it's designed into these curved sections that the CNC machine, mills out. And then there's a little, if you can imagine this arced piece, and then on the outside edge is a little dimple extension in the wood where the threaded rod goes through. And it's a really slick design. I think it'd make a great video.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Now, that's Mike Peterson, and him and Nathan Holmes. They own Iowa Scaled Engineering.
Right.
Which I believe where is that in Iowa?
Colorado.
They're all alumni, right? Iowa State alumni.
Yeah, that's right. They're all Iowa State alumni. But both Michael and Nathan are both N scalers, so
that's too bad.
And the problem is,
I'm just kidding.
And my problem, the thing that I've stumbled upon is what I'm concerned about is that when they move to Tennessee, it will become Colorado Scaled Engineering.
Got to keep you guessing. Keep me guessing.
Yeah, keep you guessing. Ladies and gentlemen. Okay, what else do we need to tell? Ron, we're running out of time here. We're closing in on the big bell's going to go. What are you the most excited about with this expansion?
Well, I think for me, it just so happened that the 2 or 3 things about my layout that were most frustrating were kind of concentrated in the same part of the layout. And so I think it's just cool for me to be able to do this one expansion and kind of fix most of those all at once. I can expand Saginaw to where I can actually kind of do it justice, and I can move Bowie, like I said, further away from Wichita Falls and get some more open country kind of running. But really, I'm really excited about, like I said before, making some videos about some of these things that I've never had a chance to make videos about before. The bench work, the backdrops, which I love installing and painting backdrops. That's just a lot of fun. So I look forward to that. And fascias and lighting. I'm going to play with, I think, some LED lighting. I've never lit my layout with LEDs before. In the past, I always really balked against that because I hated LEDs because they were always so blue and harsh. But LEDs have come so far in the last decade that I think I'm going to give that a shot, maybe see what I think.
Ron, I have LED panels on my layout. And I've got a temperature of 4,100 Kelvin, and it's perfect.
Yeah. That's what I think I'm going to play with, and that's again, you couldn't really do that. At least you couldn't do that affordably, 10 or 15 years ago. But you can do it all day long right off of Amazon today.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Ron, what did you decide to do about your backdrops?
I haven't yet. Still working on that. I actually had thought early in the summer about taking off and kind of sneaking down to North Texas on something like a vacation and taking some photographs as well.
So I guess none of those photos I sent you will work then. Is what you're saying?
Well, I haven't. I haven't. There's a couple of them I haven't ruled out yet. I just haven't decided for sure. And again, I've got a little bit of time yet because I want them for the upper deck of what I'm getting ready to build. If we can get to a place where it seems like it's safe to travel again, I'd like to come down and revisit some of that area around Wichita Falls again myself anyway, and I'd maybe stop through Fort Worth and see a couple people I know, Chris Adkins.
I saw the other day one of the train guys from the BNSF dispatcher shop posted some pictures of the hogbacks in Bowie.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd love to get out there and get some good photos of the trains on the hogbacks.
They're cool. I don't know how anybody could ever actually model that, but man, it is a cool thing.
That's
you'd be uncoupling every time you went through there. So.
For everybody that doesn't realize what that is, that's the kind of roller coaster track they've got through there because it's really hilly for some reason.
If they built it today, they would have been in just a series of cuts through there. But 100+ years ago, when they originally built that line, they didn't do that.
So basically, you're just excited in general, and you're ready to go.
Ready to go. I had lumber delivered yesterday, so I'm really launching at the bit to get started.
Okay, so what's the timeline here? That's always interesting because I have a comment about your timeline.
Well, again, as you said, we're recording this the end of July. I probably got another week to finish up the stuff for the room itself. My baseboards and those things. My hope would be to get that false wall in, and maybe the skeleton of the bench work for the lower deck in the month of August, and I'd love to spend the month of September building the helix. So we'll see how that works out for sure. But that's what I'd like to see happen.
Do we know any modelers that have ever stuck to their timeline? Because you always have this timeline of I'm going to do this, and this, and it's like, well, that didn't happen.
Right.
I'm still trying to figure out this idea of having the lumber delivered as opposed to going to Home Depot like 8 times to get what you need.
Well, here's the thing. I live in a very small town, so I don't have a Home Depot within an hour and a half.
Oh.
Well, I do have one. It's an hour and a half. Home Depot, Lowe's, all hour and a half. I have one local lumber yard. Fortunately, I have a really good friend who has worked there for 40 years. And I said it's not all there. In fact, I couldn't get the one thing I could not get locally that kind of surprised me. They do not carry, nor could they order 1/8-inch masonite, which is serious travesty. Which means
what about MDF?
My son.
Could they get MDF?
I'm sure they could, but for my backdrops where I want to cove them into that corner, I'd like to have the masonite.
You might be surprised. MDF works pretty well for that.
Will it bend? That well?
Yeah, it bends real nice. Yeah. So I use that 1/8 MDF with Speed's laser we use that to like cut car boxes and stuff. And I've used it to build up all my mock-up buildings. And yeah, it's really pliable. It's actually a lot like masonite. And I've used
hardboard.
Yeah. So it's pretty easy to work.
I might ask them about that and see what they have or what they can get in the way of MDF. I've never worked with it in that way. I'd never thought about coving MDF. I would have assumed maybe it would break easier. But
no, it's kind of tempered on both sides.
Yeah, interesting. I might give that a shot.
And are you going to build it on foam, like 2-inch foam kind of thing, or?
Probably the upper deck I will, because I'll be doing, again, it's going to be more open country. So I'll be doing a little more contouring and scenicking the upper deck. The lower deck is all going to be an industrial area. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be on a sheet of plywood. Okay.
Have you ever used Homosote or?
I haven't, just because I don't have a good source for Homosote.
Well, I'd like to see you go to that guy you've known for 40 years and try to explain to him what Homosote is.
Yeah, that'd be fun. He
knows what Homosote is, but he didn't carry it.
All right, when you come down to take pictures, I'll take you and get you some Homosote.
Yeah.
There you go.
Menards has it. If you got a Menards anywhere.
I wonder if Menards. I've got a Menards in Springfield, which again, like everything else, is an hour and a half away. It would be interesting to know if they have it.
The only thing I know what Homosote is used for is I got a ton of it 100 years ago. My brother-in-law worked at he was the produce manager at a large grocery chain, and I was visiting him one time, and there was like a ton of Homosote in the back room. And I said, what is this? He says, I don't know. They rebuilt the refrigerator and they took all this out.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, and it was in good shape. And I'm like, well, I'm taking all that. And
That's cool.
yeah, and it's like it was used. That's what I know it for. It's being used in refrigeration and sound barriers. And
it's used for sound deadening.
Yeah, that's where if you go into lumberyard, a lot of times they'll be able to find it for you if you tell them you need sound deadening wallboard or something.
Yeah, and it's still. And I thought it's still for sale. I mean, it's still a popular item.
Speaking of refrigerator units, I told you how we get our great deal on foam here locally, right?
No.
There's a local place here that makes big, huge walk-in refrigerator units, and they'll sell the 2-inch seconds of the 2-inch foam board. And I went over there one time. I heard they had some, so ran over there to grab some, and I asked the lady. I said, "Hey, I understand you got this 2-inch foam board that you'll sell." And she goes, "Yeah, what do you need it for?" And I go, "Oh, hobbies." And she looks at me and goes, "You're not a model railroader, are you?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Oh, we're only supposed to sell it to model railroaders." So I don't know what the deal is with it, but yeah, they were happy to sell it to me like $10 a sheet.
It's $30 a sheet in Canada.
Yeah.
I was gonna say 2-inch. Is it like 4x8 sheets?
Yeah, exactly. But kind of banged a little bit usually.
That's like if you buy them here new, that's like $40.
Yeah, it's at least $40 here. They didn't keep them here forever. You couldn't buy it.
You can't walk in and buy it here, but I can order it through my local yard here. I can go in and get 1/2 inch and sometimes inch, but the 2.5 inch or 2-inch I have to order. So
I loaded my Suburban up that day, and I haven't ran out yet. But I'm going to if I keep doing scenery, and so I hope that I can still get that deal. I'd be crushed if I couldn't.
Is there anything better than sitting in the Home Depot parking lot on a windy day and watching people carry out foam board?
Yeah, that's called entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Scott, can you give out our email address?
Sure. What's so funny?
Nothing.
You're thinking about those hamsters again, aren't you? There's no L's in hamsters, unfortunately. Our email address, if you choose to get a hold of us, is modelerslife@gmail.com. That's modelers with 1 L, like Mylon branch, not 2 L's, like, maybe it's Miller time.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Thanks.
So remember, there's a good chance we'll be coming, Ron, and we might as well take Chris with us too, even though he's not sure what's going on. There's a good chance that Ron and Scott and myself will be showing up in your town. And if we show up at your door and Ron's holding a large sledgehammer and I'm holding an axe and Scott's holding a cage full of hamsters.
That's just the diversion so that we can get to the layout room and start the destruction.
So when you were a kid, Chris, and you and your friends were playing with your trains, what kind of animals did you put on your layout?
I don't recall putting any. Maybe I had to take off some spiders or something once or twice.
Oh, come on. When every 10-year-old model railroader has put a household pet on the layout to either run it down with a train or throw it on a flat car and run it around. That's what 10-year-olds do.
Sure.
I guess I'm the only one. Me and my other modeling buddies were the only ones who did that. I guess we're just a little demented out here in the Midwest.
So today, Chris, Hardpart and I came up with a great idea. We're thinking of the first AML annual award could be the Spirit of Krusty Award.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking I know who the very first recipient might be.
That didn't take long, huh?
No, it took like 10 hours, and boom, he just walked in the door. We also have a podcast. We do have a podcast, which is what you're listening to right now. We have a website. This is going to be a free. This is ongoing on the free channel. And if you want more of this kind of quality podcasting.
Yeah, nobody's gonna pay for this. That's for sure.
If you want more of this quality podcast, and if you go on our website, modelerslife.com, and you go there and you scroll down and you'll see a picture of Bruce, the moderately agitated male boy, in a particularly agitated state. And if you'd like to send us an email, you can also just click on that picture and automatically send us an email. But also you'll find a link to something called Patreon, where for a mere $5 a month, you can have 4 more quality podcasts that our buddy Kaylee Zhang affectionately refers to as the Antics channel. So I highly recommend that you do that. I think $5 a month divides into 16 cents a day. So it's well worth it. Would you say it's a good value, Chris?
Oh, yes.
Exactly.
I think it's such a great value. I pay 32 cents a day just
yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you pay $10 a month, you get a free T-shirt every year. So there you go. And other stuff and other swag. So that's it. I think we've covered it all. Ron, I understand that you're the guest. But I think in this particular case, we need to have Scott take us out of here.
Okay. My reputation precedes me.
No. I just don't think you have much chance of winning the Spirit of Krusty Award for this year.
Okay.
Oh, brother.
Fair enough.
So, Scott, are you ready?
Sure.
All right. So remember, a Modeler's Life podcast is considered marginally adequate by 6 out of 10
hamster modelers.
Modeler's Life is sponsored by Because I Love Sushi, with 7 convenient locations in the greater Busted Knuckle area.
It's another Lincoln Homer.